Hey guys, it's quote-unquote your boy, Ballface8020, back again with another great commentary. Great response video, I'm sorry. I was gonna give you guys another great video about fasting, which I know you would have preferred, but instead, tonight, I may do a fasting one later, but for right now, we're doing a Casey video. You know, the bar is painted on the floor, but he keeps finding new ways to go lower. Casey, first of all, trigger warning, there's a possibility you're gonna need a shower after this video. This is, you know, Casey, showing, you know, like always, that he doesn't understand women at all, and, that he's got a very autistic view of women, dating, sexuality, gender dynamics, stuff like that. So, anyway, yeah, the thing is, I guess we should probably get into it, but I do want to give a little background on where Casey's coming from, in case I haven't talked about it before, or maybe not as in depth. I mean, if you've watched my videos, or if you've seen enough Casey's, well, you probably haven't seen enough Casey stuff, but if you've seen, like, a lot of my Casey videos, you'll have heard before that I've talked about, you know, Casey had kind of a, I don't want to say he had a traumatic upbringing, but there was some family drama in his upbringing. So what happened with Casey was, when he was coming of age, so this would have been, you know, I guess from the time he was in middle school or early on in high school, his parents' marriage started falling apart. And, to the point that his parents, for years, his parents would fight loudly, like so loudly it would keep, that the whole family could hear it. They would keep him awake, like, late at night, so, like, he couldn't sleep because they were screaming at each other all the time. And this was his life this was life in the home for years. It was just nonstop screaming at each other. I don't know about all the things they fought about. I know one, and so all the kids heard it, you know, Casey and his younger siblings all heard this. And one of the things they fought about was sex. You know, apparently, Dad Xander wasn't getting enough, and he, you know, that was one of the things he fought with his wife about when his kids could hear. So, although Casey doesn't seem to, you know, Casey just kind of mentioned it in an offhand way, like it wasn't that big a deal, so, but I don't know, but you get the idea that, you know, this was not normal and it's not good. He has given more details about it more recently. He mentioned one time that when he was younger that while all this was going on, that his mother called Casey and all his siblings into the living room. Now, I'm not sure if their dad was there too, and told them that she had developed feelings for her personal trainer. So this is not, like, this was really genuinely, you know, a really screwed up situation. And you can see, like, Casey does not seem to like his mom that much. I don't think he has no relationship with her, but I think that he has a lot of resentment for her, and, you know, understandably so. But another thing is, like, I think that this really did, I mean, impact, like, how he views relationships. Like, this isn't just a guy who got brainwashed by the red pill. This, like, had an impact on him, because, you know, he saw his dad, who was kind of like, sort of like the stereotypical boring beta, you know, he's this kind of semi-autistic, really German-American engineer. Now, he's built like an NFL linebacker. If you've seen his dad in the Casey Before the Red Pill Broke His Brain video, Casey's dad is enormous. He's like, he dwarfs Cole. Like, he's not taller than Cole, but he's, I mean, absolutely, like, every bit as big as an NFL defensive lineman in terms of frame size. His frame is just gigantic. He looks like he could break you in half just by looking at you. And, you know, you just, a guy who just radiates physical strength. Also, you know, he was an engineer, so he did okay financially. Sounds like Casey said he did pretty well. But despite all that, he's kind of got, you know, a dopey, boring beta personality. Now, I don't necessarily believe that Casey's dad was a pushover. Maybe Casey sees him that way. I think he was probably just kind of, you know, a boring dope. You know, there's plenty of them. I know Casey technically doesn't live in the Midwest. He lives in North Dakota. But, you know, I know the type. You know, again, you know, either German or Polish descent, sometimes Scandinavian descent. Big, strong, smart, low social intelligence though. And, just kind of like really boring personality. So that's just to give you some of an idea of like Casey's background and why he maybe thinks some of the things he thinks and, you know, looks at the world the way he does. I mean, a lot of it's just genetic. A lot of it's buying into red pill bullshit. A lot of it's his, you know, attempts to figure out stuff on himself. But I do think his background did have an impact on him. So yeah, and then the last thing I want to mention about that is Casey, what you're going to see in this video is not just between us and Casey, okay? Because, you know, whatever, right? But, it's between, like, he knows his brother's going to see this, his 2 younger sisters are going to see this, it sounds like his mom and his dad are going to see this, his friends are going to see this, so I want you to think if you could make a video like this. Knowing that, you know, your siblings would see it, your parents would see it, other family members you'd see it, people you know would see it. So, cause, you know, I've spoken before about how, yeah, I mean, Casey's got a lot of negative traits, but I do genuinely admire him for some things, and one of those things is the way the balls he's got to put himself out there. You know, knows he's gonna have people like me, you know, criticizing him, you know, tons of people ripping him apart, mocking him and shit like that. But this is what he wants to do. This is what he believes. So he goes out there and does it. And first of all, Casey's got other admirable traits besides that. Second of all, even now, I still kind of admire that, but but I'm also thinking, like, when I see a video like this, like, is it really that he has the balls, the self-confidence, and to do it, or is it that Casey's just that much of a fucking moron? Because, like, it's one thing to have balls to put yourself out there like this. It's another thing when you're, like, if you're okay with your siblings hearing you talk about this shit, that's fucking weird. That's never stopped Casey before, though. Let's get into it. Oops. Let's get into it.
When I say dark fantasies, like, a woman's mind and a woman's brain will typically operate in this what-if state. And the what-if state basically means, what if I could find a guy who's like this? What if I could find a guy who talks to me this way? What if I could find a guy who says these things to me in bed? What if I found a guy...
I know where he's going with this, and I disagree. I think, you know, he's really ridiculously overgeneralizing women here, even if there is a kernel of truth. However, even though, like, I disagree with it, I do think that women have a tendency to kind of have an ideal, like an archetype of what they want in a partner. And even beyond that, what they want in a partner, like not just what kind of guy they want, but how they actually want their relationship to be. And it could be any kind of guy, it could be any kind of relationship, but I do think women have a tendency to be like that. I don't think that's I'm saying it does exist with men. I don't think it's common with men. I think for men, it's more like they want somebody who they vibe with, as the kids say, but they don't really, other than that, I mean, they might have some physical preferences, but it's not really something they think about. They don't have like some dreamed up perfect partner. It's like if they click, if we click, we click, if we don't, we don't. And I think women are more likely to, you know, have, like I said, a specific archetype in mind.
Guy who was spontaneous like this, okay? This what-if factor in a woman's brain leads to her dark, dark, dark fantasies. And what I'm going to be showing you is the 3 dark...
No, I don't think there's too much of a relation there. I don't think so. I don't think that's true.
Dark fantasies of female nature that virtually every single woman has.
See, here we've already got like a really big problem. The Casey, his thesis, a lot of what he does is Casey clearly believes that his mother lost interest in Casey's father because he wasn't dominant enough, and he wasn't providing enough excitement. That's clearly what Casey thinks happened. I just think that Casey's dad, he may have been a good guy, I don't know. He's kind of a boring guy. Casey's mom was kind of a selfish woman, and she just kind of got bored with the whole suburban mom thing and wanted something new. And Casey's dad is kind of like, nice guy maybe, good father, but kind of boring, and, they just, what they wanted out of life didn't jibe. So I don't think it was just like, just like I disagree with, you'll start to see, like, I guess you can call them, like, pick-me girls or female MRAs or something, who say stuff like, oh, well, to keep a man interested, you've got to cook for him and suck his dick or whatever, blah, 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 like that. But it's like, you can do all that stuff and the guy can still lose interest. It's just like, the thing is, if somebody, man or woman, loses interest in a relationship, it's not necessarily that you did something wrong, or that there's something else you could have done to prevent it. People have a tendency to get bored of relationships. Often it's both partners, sometimes it's just one, and that can cause a lot of tension. And, it's unfortunate, but it's kind of inevitable. So Casey, though, seems to have this belief that if you act a certain way, you can prevent it. And I don't think that's true. But let's go a little further, though. So with Casey, though, it's not just acting a certain way, it's a very specific way. Like a very specific, that you basically have to maintain a woman's interest. Just like, some women would say, well, to maintain a guy's interest, you have to give him sex on demand and, cook for him and shit. Casey is kind of like the male version of that. He says to maintain a woman's interest, you got to be dominant. However, from the data we do have, this doesn't seem to be the case. Now, granted, as far as I know, this survey was done with Western women. It could be different in other cultures. In fact, I would expect it is. But only about 60% of women are what we would call sexually submissive. Sorry that this is a little graphic. That seems to be the data, at least in the West. Now, could that be culturally influenced? Yes. However, there's a two-way street. It could also be that, because women have more freedom and power, that they're actually more than they are in the past, and that I wouldn't be surprised, actually, if women were less sexually submissive in more patriarchal societies, or in more patriarchal times. But beyond that, I would say that, like, that's just in terms of, like, fantasies and stuff, because I would guess that it's well over 60%. I would say, like, probably over 90% of women want some level of, I don't even want to say dominance, but some level of male leadership in the relationship. And just to give you an example of, like, when you're holding hands with her, almost all women are going to want your hand to be on top of hers. And if you're dancing with her, almost all women are going to want you to lead the dance. Now, it might very well not go any further than that. In fact, she may actually be the more dominant partner in the relationship. But there are going to be some things where where almost every woman is going, not almost every woman, that over 90% of women are going to want you to take a leading role. That's totally different thing than saying that, that most women are going to want you to be sexually dominant, which is, again, as far as we know, that's more like 60% of women. And of that 60%, that's to varying degrees. Some are like very extreme, and some maybe just want a little bit. And, but Casey's whole thing, what he's always been doing in his things isn't really about sexual dominance. It's about relationship dominance. Furthermore, it's about an autistic type relationship dominance, which is like 100% of the time. And that's not really how a relationship works. First of all, you can't necessarily say that, because she wants sexual dominance, she wants, you to be that level or any level at all of relationship dominance. And in fact, she probably doesn't. But, beyond that, even if she does, and it is, whatever, even if that's right, it's never a 100% thing. Okay? Now, most intimate partner relationships, there's going to be, generally it's not going to be exactly 50-50. You might have it maybe 51-49, and the 51 can be the woman and not the man. But it's never, so that's true in that sense. And I would say more often than not, it probably is the man. Overall, in total, if you total it up. But even in those relationships, okay, even in the most of those relationships which are more on the male-dominated side, it's not male-dominated in every circumstance at all time. There is going to be times where she's the dominant partner, where she puts her foot down and things go her way. And again, the reverse, if you're in a relationship where it's usually the woman, like it happens because there are relationships like that where the woman is more dominant most of the time. So it's not, that's just how it goes. And not only is that how it goes, but that's kind of how it went even back in times where men had more power than they do now. I know it's kind of different circumstances where men had more power and women had less power. Even then, even in those types of relationships, I'm talking about like, 1800s, 1700s, 1600s, there were going to be times where the wife, the situations where the wife won out or the wife had more power. And you can even think about friendships you've had, maybe where you were maybe you were the more dominant one in the friendship, or maybe they were. But there were certain times where, things went, you got things done your way, or they got things done their way. And, so that would be like one example. It's not all times and all circumstances, which Casey just doesn't seem to understand.
But virtually every single woman keeps these a secret because they don't want to be viewed as different. They don't want this to come.
I mean, women are pretty open about their kinks these days. Twilight, 50 Shades of Grey, it's just, women are just, for better or worse, and it's mostly worse in my opinion, women are happy to tell you about what they're into.
Across as taboo, and they also want.
But it's not taboo anymore. It's like, it's so mainstream.
They also want to keep up their good girl appearance or their good girl persona.
No, I mean, they really don't. I mean, they don't want to be known as, like, sleeping around, and they don't want to come off like total nymphos, but they're not, like, super shy about this stuff. They're pretty open about what they like.
Plus, another thing that I totally forgot to mention, if more guys knew this, like, these secrets would even make average men super attractive.
No, they would not. This violates the black pill, which teaches us that the number one thing that women are attracted to is looks. Now, it's not the only thing, like black pillars say, because they're a bunch of autistic, retarded faggots, but it is the main thing, and Casey's violating, what the black pill teaches here.
Which is one thing that women do not want you to know. So if you stick with me for the next 5 to 15 minutes, this is totally going to change your life, because when you understand attraction at a fundamental level, this helps you well into your later years, so you can...
Well, first of all, Casey's 27. What would he know about how things are going to help to your later years? Second of all, having seen the video, no. Nothing in it is going to be helpful.
Actually have good, solid relationships with a woman or the women who come into your life 24/7 without pullback.
No, this isn't going to help you with relationships with women. I mean, I do think he said some stuff that might help some guys in certain relationships. This type of thing is not. This is more about, again, it's mostly like about sexual compatibility, not really about relationships in general. It's not going to be helpful on that front. No.
acts are being left for another man. Like, these things are super important.
No, okay. Women will leave you for all sorts of reasons, just like you'll leave a woman for all sorts of reasons. Furthermore, being an alpha dominant guy, absolutely, 100%. Not only does that not prevent her from leaving you, it doesn't prevent her from cheating on you. Women, when they cheat, it's usually not cheating because they went and found a more quote-unquote alpha guy. It's not even necessarily that they found a better looking guy. It's that they were bored. They wanted some excitement. That's usually what it's about. You're going to prevent her from getting bored? That's going to be tough. That's going to be more about her than it is about you.
So, okay, I'm going to put this picture up on the screen. I was talking to a girl who I know on Instagram who was from my state. She now lives and moves into a different state. So I was talking to her, and I didn't know I thought she moved solo. So she goes, I went with a boyfriend. I go, oh, LOL, I did not know that. That's good, though. She goes, yeah, most don't. We broke up. I go, oh, sad, LOL, how come? She goes, good.
What, are all these LOLs necessary?
Good guy, wish him well, I just didn't want to settle. And as soon as she said that, didn't want to settle, I knew right away. Like, he wasn't what I wanted in bed, he wasn't dominant enough, he didn't make me feel like a woman, so I just...
Yeah, okay, I hear you. That's because you know this girl. That's not necessarily what every girl says when she says, I don't want to settle. Okay? In fact, that's usually probably not. It's usually probably, if a girl's going to say, I don't want to settle, she's generally going to mean two things. One is, she just wasn't in love with him. Could that be because he wasn't sexually dominant enough? Yes. Is that usually the reason why she's not in love? No. No. The other is she might have meant, like, this guy's just not good enough on the checklist. He doesn't make enough money, he's not tall enough, he's not good looking enough. She could have meant that. That's what she's usually going to mean. And you know this girl, so you knew exactly what was going on. That's not necessarily what women mean.
Just straight up ass, like, I don't give a fuck. I go, AK, that means refuse to bring out the handcuffs and the whips, LOL. She goes,
see, okay, he doesn't give a fuck. If you're so I don't give a fuck, why did you say the lol after that? Because it wasn't all in the same thing. So you said it, and then you said the lol. If you really didn't give a fuck, you would have just said, that's what I would have done. I would have just said it and left it at that. And, because I don't give a fuck. So don't tell me that you don't give a fuck. You do give a fuck. Alright?
If I have to ask, I don't want it. So there's two things here. The first thing that I want you to take note of is her subtly agreeing with me by saying, if I have to ask...
Okay, yeah, I hear it.
I don't want it, meaning yes. That was...
Oh, well, thank you for translating for us, Casey. That was really good. I didn't follow that.
This is the type of experience I was looking for, is basically what she just said. That's the type of experience I want, and that's the type of experience he couldn't fulfill. Therefore, he could be a good guy. This is what you have to understand. This girl has turned and burned a lot of boyfriends over the years.
Okay, so we're at it right now. Not saying this girl's bad. Not saying anything like that. I don't know her. In cases, this girl, I know a lot of women. Okay. And most women do not, quote, turn and burn, to borrow Kate's thing, many different men. Okay? Most women, are, now, not every woman settles down, a lot of women, when they settle down, the relationships don't last, that's true, but most women, if they're in a relationship, it's for a long time. And if they break up, it's after a long time. And it's not for something like, he wasn't kinky enough, okay? You don't break up with somebody after 6 years for that. If you break up, most women I know, and a lot of it depends on, social class. My social class, upper middle class, white, you're gonna see a lot of women in long-term relationships. In fact, I don't know any woman my age, who is not in a long-term relationship or married. No, I don't know any. And, as in they've been in it for a long time. So this is a girl who's, we don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised if maybe mentally she's a little fucked up. She's been in a lot of relationships. There's probably something wrong there. And even if there's not something wrong, because maybe there isn't, this isn't normal. She's not normal. So what I'm saying is, not that there's anything wrong with her, what she's into. What I'm saying is, you can't necessarily project what she's into onto all women. Because it sounds like, from what we do know, that she is very much not the norm.
That I've seen, okay? When she says he's a good guy, I wish him all the best, but I don't want him. A guy can have the best job. You can be the best looking. You can be the best stable guy long term. You can be there for her at all times. If you lack these internal dominant masculine characteristics, you are going to be dumped because she does not feel the right way about you, because you are not actually unleashing your true masculinity.
Well, okay, I mean, we've got a lot of problems here. So what he said here about the true internal things. Okay. Okay, well, the first thing we have to come back to is there's a difference between, well, not necessarily, but there often is a difference between what a woman wants sexually and what she wants out of a relationship. Casey, being autistic, projects it in, he says it's got to be sexual and in the relationship. And that's what he's saying. That's what he's saying. And that's, not necessarily the case. And like I said before, even insofar as it is the case, it's not necessarily to the same extent. It's not necessarily like she could be ultra submissive in bed, but just want maybe a much more moderate level of dominance in the relationship. Okay? And, vice versa, even, to tell you the truth. Some people are into stuff that you wouldn't expect, and, the people are into what they're into. And, it's not even always necessarily, like I said, it's not necessarily what you'd expect, and it's not necessarily closely related to how they are in real life, or even how they are in the rest of the relationship. So that's the first thing. But another thing is, he said that you have to be internal. This is something that, I'm pretty sure Casey doesn't understand. Okay, doesn't know. And I don't know if a lot of guys don't understand it. Okay. I don't know what percentage of women are super submissive. Okay. Sexually. I don't know. Okay. What I do know is that the ones who are, okay, don't want you to act dominant and to dominate her and to hurt her in bed or sexually. That's not what they want. They want you to enjoy doing it, and they can tell if you don't. Okay, and it can't be something weird. Like, they don't want you to enjoy it in a weird Casey way, like, this proves I'm a man. Okay, like this is like some kind of like self-proof to me that I'm actually this masculine dominant guy. That's not going to work. It's not enough to do it and to act like you enjoy it. Okay, it needs to be something that you like. This has to be you. Okay. This has to be, like, that has to be what gets you. Just like, getting fucked up is what gets her off. You fucking her up has to get, you off. And if it doesn't, she will know. Okay? And you will not be what she wants. You will not be what she's looking for. And there is nothing, absolutely nothing, short of a brain transplant that's going to make you that way if you are not naturally that way. Casey is not wired that way. Period. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. It's probably a good thing, if we're being honest. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't think most guys are wired that way. Just like honestly, I don't, regardless of what, the 60%, I'm not sure most women are wired that way. What the studies say is that 60% of women are sexually submissive, 40% of men are sexually dominant. But the thing is, sexually submissive could mean so many things, and sexually dominant could mean so many things. Like, it could be very mildly sexually submissive and very mildly sexually dominant. Because my guess would be that the overwhelming majority of men are at least mildly sexually dominant, and the overwhelming majority of women are at least mildly sexually submissive. So it's kind of like where you draw the line. But like, I do think Casey seems to be talking about more of a more extreme type of it. How common is it with women? Probably more, again, it's probably more common with women to be submissive than men to be dominant in that front, on that, like, on the more extreme level. But I don't really know. And, but the thing is, it's the same thing. Like, the thing is, it's gotta be real. Okay? It's gotta be really who you are. And I know, because I've heard about guys who've tried to do it, who've tried to be with, like really submissive, like really sexually submissive girls, and they could play the role, but it didn't do it for her because that just wasn't who they are. And that, that's just how it goes, and for a woman who likes that stuff, that Casey is not going to be what she wants. And so you think, well, this girl, right? I mean, she talks to him, and, I'm sure she's fucked him a few times. I don't think, Casey is her first choice. It's more like, well, he can play the part, he can LARP as it, so any port in a storm. That's my guess. I mean, she's not with him, right? So, just because she's, flirting with him a little via text, that doesn't necessarily mean anything.
This is something that not a lot of guys are ever told. So what I'm going to do today is show you the 3 fantasies that all women have. But
no, look, Casey. Let's just even forget about all women. Even 90% of women don't all have the same fantasies, okay? And it's all over the place, and often women will have contradictory fantasies. They might have some fantasies of submission, some of dominance. They might have some that are just fucking weird, just weird shit that, like, who even knows where it comes from. But they don't all have these fantasies, okay? They just don't.
But they will not tell you, okay? Number 1, they are wanting a dominant man inside and outside of the bedroom.
It's not true. It's not true. Yes, we do have statistics that in the West, it's probably different in countries where women don't have as much power. It's probably less. Women do want 60% of women do want a man who's sexually dominant in the bedroom. To a greater or lesser extent. We don't know how far an extent. There is no reason to believe, and I believe that I don't actually have the data, but I would be stunned if that number wasn't far less who want him to be dominant outside the bedroom. Now, again, they probably subconsciously want it to extend outside the bedroom a little bit, to an extent, at certain times, but that's it. That's as far as it goes. So I wouldn't even say 60%, which is not all women or almost all women, want it to extend outside the bedroom. And I want to go further than that. I would say that there's probably a minority, to be sure, but a not insignificant amount of women in that 60% who are sexually submissive who actually prefer to be more dominant outside of the bedroom. Because I know that this is very common with sexually submissive men to be, extremely dominant outside the bedroom. It's so well known, it's almost cliche to people who know about this shit. So yeah, I don't, no, so Casey's wrong. He's wrong. He doesn't understand women. He doesn't understand people in general, but he really doesn't understand women.
Okay, let's first start off with what that means inside of the bedroom.
Oh no. Oh god. Alright, you guys should probably stop watching at this point. Or cover your ears or something. Let's brace ourselves.
You understand this one key concept? You're going to be better in bed than almost any other man because you are coming at it from the frame of your own basic pleasure that also brings her pleasure. So what is it that I mean?
Casey. This is like when I asked New Poster about this, because I guess he's into this scene. So I asked him about this because I was just wondering. I was like, do you think Casey is into like BDSM stuff? And he said, no way. He said, Casey, the only kind of sex Casey could have is missionary while screaming out his own name. And that's probably true. That's probably how Casey likes it. But but I mean, obviously, unfortunately, we now know that Casey is into stuff that's harder than that. But we also know that, you know, when Casey talks like, oh, it's getting, you know, me off or whatever and stuff, and it's like, Casey, we know that's not true. I mean, we know that what's getting you off, insofar as anything's getting you off, it's the ego trip, okay? It's not for its own sake. Okay, you know, we know this. You don't, I know, actually, I'm gonna stop. You do know this. You just don't know that there's something fucking weird about it. So, and then, yeah, I'll leave it at that. Let's continue.
What I mean by that is
Casey, you don't need, we know what you mean by that. You can just stop.
Woman gets pleasure from knowing she can please you.
Yeah.
Okay, say that one.
Casey, we don't need to say it one more time. We've heard this. It's, God. Okay. That's a very small part of, you know, what sexual dominance is about. Okay. It's just, you know, so whatever. You're over it. Now you tend to overcomplicate things, and this time you're oversimplifying it.
One more time. Let that sink in. A woman gains pleasure inside of the bedroom from knowing that she can please you. Okay.
Yeah, some women at some times, not all women, not at all the time, all right?
This is why love stories or fantasies like 50 Shades of Grey or any love novel where she's with this hyper-masculine man that swoops her off her feet and all this. This is why it's so popular in the woman's brain, is because when a woman knows that she's deriving pleasure from pleasing you, you all of a sudden get to be boss daddy in charge. And what is boss?
Well, okay, I don't know anything about, I don't mean other than the basics of 50 Shades of Grey, but I'm trying to think a bit more, like, maybe a more common thing, because I don't know, like, I mean, I would say, based on that study, 60% at most are into 50 Shades of Grey type stuff. I think of women as being more into the more, like, you know, Clark Gable, you know, picking up, Vivian Leigh and, Gone with the Wind, you know, and, you know, kissing her deeply and carrying her up into the bedroom. So, in that situation, right, he's the dominant one. He's being super masculine. You know, he's kind of like, you know, like I said, Clark Gable, Richard Burton. He's going to throw you on the bed, stuff like that. But it's not really like it's just not what Casey's saying. Like, that it's like she's getting off on pleasing you. That's really not it at all. No. She's not getting off on pleasing you. She's getting off on being dominated by you. And those are very different things. Very different things. And I mean, they're just very different things. And I mean, when you don't understand women and don't understand even people in general, you miss that stuff. Boss
daddy in charge, okay? You tell her the positions you want her, and you tell her how you want her to do it. You applaud her. Okay, Casey. You applaud her when she's doing certain things properly. You direct her and tell her when
I want to remind you guys again, Casey's brother, his sisters are going to see this. His dad is going to see this. His mom is going to see this. Okay? I want you to think about that. What is wrong with this guy?
She's not doing things properly. You lead her through that experience. Okay. That's very sexy to a woman. But that's only...
Yes, to some women, okay? Like, is that what, like, I don't think that's what Rhett was doing to Scarlett O'Hara, okay? Because she wasn't wired that way, okay? She wasn't wired that way. Was he the dominant one in bed? Yes. Was he doing what you just said? No. And this isn't criticism. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with your living. I'm not even saying there's anything wrong with stuff that's way more hardcore than what you're talking about. There's no judgment here. What I am saying is, you're saying that this applies to women as a broad group. It doesn't. It just doesn't. Now, you know, I'll even take it further. Maybe you think it should apply to women in all groups. Maybe you think it would be better. Maybe you think that, Like, I don't know, maybe that would be, maybe you would prefer it, maybe you think the world would be better, maybe the world would be better, I don't know. But what I do know is that this is not where most women are. For better or worse, this is not where most women are, it's just a fact.
First side of the coin. Okay, majority of men today, especially if you're watching YouTube videos on attraction, you already know that women like dominant men inside of the bedroom who can lead her. That's a given. It's been in every love story for the past 40 years. But let's take that on the other side. What does being dominant outside of the bedroom mean? Okay? It means that you value her opinion and you're not a dick, right? You're not a jackass about things, but you are picking the dates, you're picking the times,
Well, whether you're a jackass or not, I mean, being dominant outside the bedroom it's about that, just that, okay? You know, you can be a nice guy about it, or you can be a total dick about it. It can be kind of a very gentle dominance, or it could be a controlling psychopath dominance. But it just exists in and of itself. You know, Casey has this thing where he's saying like, oh no, well, if you're a controlling psychopath dominance, that's the wrong way to be dominant. Okay, that's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's the wrong way to be dominant. That's fine. But it's still dominance. That's you know, dominance is just a matter of being dominant. Okay. Now, I mean, in fairness, you know, I'm being a little autistic here because it's obvious from the context that Casey means that he's talking about being dominant in what he views as the right way. But, you know, I do think that some type of precision in language is important. And I have to go a little further here. There is, like, for instance, is going to be a certain type of woman, probably the girl who was in the text exchange with Casey at the beginning, who is probably going to be more attracted to the dickish, more dickish, controlling type of dominance. It happens. Not saying it's a good thing, but I guess what I'm trying to get at again is that people have a lot of variety. And, you know, it's like Casey somebody like feminists would criticize Casey for not realizing that women are different. You know, they're individual and they vary a lot. They're not all the same way because they're women. And that's true. Casey doesn't get that, but I'm not sure he understands. In fact, I'm going to go front. I am sure that he doesn't understand that men vary too. You know? So, yeah.
You're setting the frame and the expectations. You're setting the boundaries in the relationship for how the interaction.
Yes, to an extent at certain times. Maybe the majority of the time. Not necessarily all the time. That will fuck up your relationship, just like you fucked everything up with Brittany.
Actions are going to run. Okay, if she tries to test or push for no specific reason, you're able to set the frame and say that's not accepted, and you will walk away if necessary.
That's not okay. This is where I think, you know, I know that, you know, Casey has, according to his stories, and I believe him, had some success saving at least temporarily marriages and relationships. But if you listen to his stories and where he's had success, it's not that he's taught these guys to be more dominant. Okay, that's not that in every case, every one of these stories that I've heard of his, it's not that he taught them to be more dominant. And I wouldn't tell you where to look. I don't know if they're still up there or not. It was that and this is where the red pill can like at least have a kernel of truth and be helpful to some guys at some times. What he taught them was to have boundaries. Because having the boundaries in the for you to have boundaries in the relationship is an important part of just her being able to respect you. Okay? And this has nothing to do with dominance. In fact, she could still be the dominant one, theoretically. But you just haven't, like, are you going to have some boundaries, or are you going to be a total pushover? If she does not respect you, she will lose attraction for you. This is, I mean, unless it's, except for maybe like some super femdom chicks who are like, but generally speaking, a woman, no matter how good you look, will lose attraction for you if she doesn't respect you. This is why women will almost never date guys who are substantially less intelligent than they are, because they can't respect them. And, but, you know, idiots like Casey interpret that means, oh, she wants a guy who's better than her, who's going to dominate her. No, that's not it. I mean, she might want that, but that's not what this is about. Women cannot maintain attraction if they don't respect you. And that's where he goes. But you don't want to take it any further than that, because nothing further than that is necessarily true. Again, it might be for some women at some times. Not always true. Definitely not. I think maybe not most of the time.
That's the first. When you show that you're not only dominant inside of the bedroom, but you're a dominant man outside of the bedroom, and yes, that does include tackling your goals dominantly with conviction in life too. That is what happens when a woman sees that you...
Look. Yes, some women to some extent will care that you are a success, but she doesn't really care about the specifics of your goals or your dreams. That's not important to her. It's like what I said before about respect, so if you're really... Now, if she really loves you and cares about you, she's going to want you to succeed and do well. For your sake, though, not for hers. For, like, when it comes to just her and her attraction, no, if you sit around all day and do nothing and mope, no, she's not going to respect you, probably. And then she might leave you. Or lose attraction or cheat, whatever. But in terms of maintaining attraction, I mean, at most, you just have to be a success. You don't have to be some world conqueror guy. And success is going to be relative to her class, your class, stuff like that. So you could be some working class guy, who just works as, as a construction worker and still maintain her respect, even though you might even be earning less money than she does. Because she sees you're going out and they're working. Sure, maybe you don't have a lot of ambition. Sure, maybe you don't bring in a ton of money, but she respects what you're doing. You're going out there and you're working. And that's all it needs. That's the bare minimum. And, so you have that bare minimum. You also shouldn't assume that going beyond that is going to increase her attraction for you. It could with some women. It won't necessarily. And often it won't.
You are basically the total package. And that is why what I've called it on this channel for so many years is I've called it full stack. You have to have...
Casey. You call it full stack because you're autistic and stupid. Full stack. Look, I was a web developer. I did this for a living. I was a full stack web developer. Okay? I know where the phrase comes from because that's what I did for a living. Okay? Full stack comes from web development. It means you work on the database, the server, and the client. That is what full stack means. The full web stack. Okay? That's the full stack. The database, the server, and the client. It does not apply to anything outside of web development. Okay? You heard the phrase from one of your developer friends, didn't understand what it meant at all, and then started using it in your thing because you thought it sounded good. Even though the way you're using it is completely nonsensical. So it is it's not even a cliche because nobody else uses it because it would be too stupid. It's something you've made up because it makes sense to you based on what you misinterpreted full stack as meaning.
Have majority of every single area dialed in because when you do, what happens is you literally become irreplaceable. So here's what I want a lot of men to know and a lot of men to understand about this is when they hear that, they say, man, I gotta have...
Oh, I think I might actually kind of I might have misunderstood what he meant. Like, I thought full stack was just him being an idiot, and, largely it is. But I think he might understand web development better than I was giving him credit for. So I was saying that full stack and web development means the database, the server, and the client. And he's saying, oh, well, this is going to be full stack in all levels of masculinity. The, bedroom masculinity, bedroom dominance, relationship dominance, and real world success. That's full stack. That's still nonsensical because those three things are completely unconnected to each other. You could be successful in the real world and then a complete pushover both in bed and the relationship. You could be, and this definitely happens a lot, you could be super dominant in bed and then a pushover in the relationship. You could be the other way around. You could be super dominant in bed, super dominant in the relationship, and a complete failure in the real world. Okay? So they're like, whereas full stack, the whole point of full stack is that every part touches the other part. Well, at least indirectly, right? You know, it's like, so because the database is always touching the server. And the server is always touching the client. So granted, the client doesn't touch the database directly, but it does touch, but there's a connection there, hence the stack. If they're not connected, there is no stack. So no, Casey's still an idiot. In fact, what he's saying now actually might be even stupider than what I thought he meant.
Every area of my life dialed in. That sounds really daunting. What does she have to bring to the table? The truth is this. It's only in your best interest, because the better you get at your own life at becoming a man, the higher caliber, more attractive, more feminine women you get.
Well, first of all, I disagree. Second of all, let's talk about just the one thing he was talking about, sexual dominance, bedroom dominance. You can't get better at that. Okay, it's not going to happen. You can no more get better at that than you could make yourself gay if you wanted to. You're either wired that you can't nothing you do is going to make you attracted to men. All right. And nothing you do is going to make you get off on dominating her and hurting her. Okay. If that's not what you're into. And if that doesn't get you off, if you're going through the motions, again, that's not what she wants. If she's one of those women who does want that, which again is far from all women. Okay, very far from all women. And, so that's the first thing. It's just not going to happen. You aren't going to make yourself sexually dominant. It can't be done. Can't be done. You can make yourself behave in a sexually dominant fashion, but it won't be, it's not going to make you sexually dominant. It's got to be natural. Like a guy, you can just see it in certain guys. And if you want to see an example, go look up Serge Gainsbourg. You can just see it. Now, I don't know what his sex life was like, thankfully. I don't think anybody knows, but you know him and you do know. You see him and you do know. And you understand how, how he got some of the women he did, who were way out of his league. And this might sound like I'm contradicting myself saying that, because he was like that, he got women out of his league. But Serge had other stuff going for him too. And it wasn't like he could have any woman he wanted. There's going to be plenty of women who were going to be repulsed by him, not just by his looks, but also by, the kind of guy he was. But anyway, that's even just so as for the other stuff, yeah, theoretically, to an extent, you can make yourself somewhat of a success on the outside. Is that going to make you more attractive to women? Not really. You can build up your body physically. Is that going to make you more attractive to women? No, not really. The styling and stuff, it's just not going to make you a lot more attractive. Now, again, internally, so theoretically, all right, if you could change your personality, okay, let's even say physically that you're the same, all right, and you're gonna change yourself on the inside to be like Serge Gainsbourg. Will that make you more attractive to women? Well, again, probably not, again, for some black pill reasons. Was Serge the greatest looking guy? No, but he did have a look. He could kind of be seen as attractive in sort of an offbeat way. And so if you don't have the looks to pull it off, it's still not going to help you that much. And then, that's that's the first thing. You have to think that the phenotype absolutely really does matter, and there's only so much you can do on the phenotype. I guess phenotype's not the right word. The externalities then. But on a practical level, you really can't change the inside. And, cause I know I've been trying to change the kind of person I am my whole life, it feels like, and I've never succeeded. You kind of are who you are.
Okay. So if you first start this journey and you can pull attractive women, but they're not the highest quality, what's going to happen is through years and years of experience, you are going to basically be able to pull a much hotter, more attractive feminine woman in due time. So this is...
No, I don't think so. I mean, you're going to be Casey's a young guy. He's a good looking guy. Not putting Casey down. Nothing wrong with him and stuff. But, let's be honest. Okay? He's not as good looking as he was a few years ago. You know, human beings don't age well. You know, the decline begins pretty early, and, you know, you're going to get less attractive with time. That's just how it goes. And as you get less attractive, and your options are going to decrease. You know, that's how it goes, and that's just, you know, how it is. So so the thing is, like, yeah, you keep working and working and working, and, you know, New Poster kind of talked about this. You know, it's like it's some self-improvement goal that you'll never reach. But the thing is, it's like, you know, like, Casey doesn't. I mean, yeah, that's true in practice, but Casey doesn't think of it that way. You know, and you know, when I was more into self-improvement stuff, I didn't think of it that way. I thought, I guess if I'm being honest, I never had, like, a firm idea of when I was going to get there, like, make it to whatever goal I'd set at the time. Usually it had to do not with, like internal stuff. It had more to do with, like, building myself up physically. Like, I want my arms to be this big or whatever. And, like, when I have that done, then I can start working on other stuff. Because, you know, what I really cared about, what I really wanted were the bigger muscles. And, where was I going with this again? But, yeah, no, I don't think, like, thing is, but let's say, like, and I, you know, understood, like, even when I was pretty young, that, you know, building bigger muscles was not going to make me more attractive to girls. They didn't care at all. I didn't realize when I was young how much girls cared about height. I thought they only cared about face. But I knew, like, big muscles is not going to make me more attractive. Muscles are kind of like, if you're already attractive, then the girls will like the muscles. But you're not going to, like, just you building up the muscles is not going to make you attractive. Because if you think about it, like, you know, like, other than guys who actually are in the NFL, if you see NFL-sized guys in real life, women don't really like them. I mean, yeah, some women do. Some women who are, like, muscle queens like them. Most women are kind of like, you know, he's too big. And now, you can't be too tall. There's no such thing as too tall for a woman. And they don't want you to be a rail, either. But they don't want you to be they don't want you to be, like, NFL-sized, okay? They want you to look like Cole. Okay, not like, they want you to look like Cole Xander, not whatever Casey Xander's dad's name is. So, you know, big, yes, big is good, too big is bad. And, but yeah, I mean, but also, like, building up your muscles is, again, it can make you a little attractive, depending, like, on at the margins of certain things, but it's really not a big deal. So women really don't care about muscles and stuff. They care about frame to an extent, like your size of your wrists, size of your ankles, stuff like that, the breadth of your shoulders, your bones, to an extent, not nearly as much as they care about your height. They care about the length of your bones a lot more than the width of your bones. But in terms of muscles, I mean, like, actual, like, muscle development, it's not really a big deal.
This is a woman's first fantasy. Being a dominant man in...
Holy shit, all this time and we've only gotten to her first fantasy? Well, then again, I guess we are only 6 minutes and 20 seconds in it, but let's go ahead.
Inside and outside of the bedroom, okay?
Okay, again, we already established this. That's not true.
Number 2. The second fantasy that all women crave is this. A pre-built man. Okay, pre-built man, what I'm...
Okay, first of all, no. Second of all, that's not a fantasy. You're talking about something about what they want. It has nothing to do with sexual fantasy or anything. So you are a fucking moron.
I'm going to describe this as alpha and basically beta all wrapped up in the same person. So when I say alpha, that is every single characteristic that it takes to make a woman arouse and get wet for you. You have to understand these things.
Casey, please never use the word wet again. Ever. And I don't just mean in videos. I just mean at any stage of life.
That's going to be you putting on muscle mass, you having a low body fat.
No. Okay, first of all, women do not like low body fat, okay? They don't want you to be a fat slob. Anything below 15% is going to make you less attractive. 12% at the most, okay? 12% at the lowest. You definitely should not be under 12%. Okay? That's not what women want. So get that. Bigger muscle mass, no. For a very small subset of women, basically women who are themselves into lifting weights, they'll like that. Other than that, no. And those types of women might like the low body fat too. But it's like, it's a thing. Like, if you're a part of like CrossFit or bodybuilding culture, yes, you're going to find women who like that stuff. Women in general, no, absolutely not.
You talking strong and dominant and direct, okay? You being in.
Well, again, you don't have to be a pushover, but you can't fake dominance. If you try to fake dominance, what you're going to end up is you're going to come out sounding like Casey Zander. And if you want to be a dominant man, you don't want to sound like Casey Zander. You want to sound like Jack Nicholson, okay? And again, you aren't. That's not going to happen if it's not you. Okay, now, this is something that I noticed when I was younger, and maybe you guys have noticed it when you're in your own lives. I think we've all had times in our lives where we've tried to act a certain way. You know, more cool, more tough, whatever. And in my experience, I don't think I'm alone, every time I've tried to act more a certain way, it's had the exact opposite effect I've intended. I've come off as either more of a dork or more of a wimp or whatever. And, you know, and you see it with Casey too. When he tries to act dominant, he doesn't come off as dominant. He comes off as a douche who's insecure and very undominant. He actually seemed more dominant when he wasn't trying to be dominant. And I don't think that's unique to him. I think that's just how people are.
Able to seduce and have good game and have flirtation. Okay, you maybe even look like a little.
Okay, first of all, Casey, you have no game whatsoever. Your success comes from, you know, you sometimes being too stupid to understand how poorly you're doing, and your looks. And the people who watch your videos are not going to have success. That one guy you cited, the guy who you supposedly like made into a Chad alpha, all you did was make him lose weight, and he happened to be Chad underneath. and you know, with great hair. And then, so of course that guy's going to go out there and have succeed, just like, you know, Joe Descartes was able to go out there and have success with women, despite, you know, being a dork. I mean, a nice guy, but a dorky personality, because, you know, he lost the weight, and he's tall with good hair and a decent face. So women were like, yeah, I'm down, or at least, you know, not all women, but you're going to have success that way. That's it. This is Black Pill 101.
Little bit of a bad boy. Maybe you're willing to say the edgy things, you do the edgy things, you're...
No. Yes. If, again, Black Pill, if she finds you attractive, that can, maybe usually, but it can be attractive to her. It can turn her on if she's already attracted to you. But, like, when it comes to saying edgy shit, I am, like, the master of it, okay? Like, I say whatever. I've always been known for that. It doesn't attract women to me, okay? Women do not see it and find it attractive, okay? Some of them might find it funny, but that's as far as it goes. They don't be like, oh wow, Ballface 8020, he just says anything. That's so hot. No. No woman reacts that way to it. Because there isn't that initial physical attraction, you know? And, so, I mean, no. It's just so wrong. Cause and effect, and it's just wrong.
You're taking those risks that most would appear taboo if they said them in public. You're able to say the things and kind of get away with it. And when she sees that you're this type of guy, it makes her think one thing. It makes her think, I want to have sex with this guy.
Oh, God.
It's very important. It's very important because she does not necessarily want to have a...
I just want to remind you guys that Casey's family is going to see this. His sisters are going to see it. His brother, his dad, his mom, his friends. So I don't know if that bothers anybody else as much as it does me, but, you know.
Relationship with him yet. Okay? Keep that in mind. Yet. But in due time, if you're a true pre-built man, she will. Here's what
Look. Women are going to get that feeling. Like, you know, there's some variation, but generally women, especially the kind of women Casey is going to like, are going to get that feeling that I want that guy to have sex with me feeling if he looks like Chris Hemsworth. Okay? That's what's going to do it. If he looks like Chris Hemsworth, okay, that's going to be one way. The other way is if he's really tall, like, you know, 6'7" or something, they're going to have that feeling. The other is if he's really famous. Okay? You know, or has an exceptional amount of status. that's going to inspire that feeling in women. That sort of like raw animalistic attraction. You be saying edgy stuff, not going to do it. Okay? Now, if she's already attracted to you, can it put her in that mood? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. But by itself, no. No. And if you don't understand this, you don't understand women.
What I mean by this. If you're that type of guy, it's going to come with a certain stigma or stereotype. And I've had a lot of women ask me this too, because that can be the vibe that I tend to give off. Is after probably 3 to 5 dates, what they're going to say is they're going to say something along the lines of, is this all for sex? Or are you just looking for sex? Or is this mainly what you're after? Or am I...
I don't think that has anything to do with your personality. That's just, they're just trying to figure out what it's about. I mean, maybe that's all he's saying, and I'm nitpicking. I don't know.
Are you going to use me a few times and make me feel used because we'll sleep together and then eventually you'll stop talking to me? Something along those lines.
See, I never really got that. Like if you're attracted to her, right, and you're sleeping with her, why would you want to stop doing that? Like, I mean, like you say, like you got bored of it. I mean, I don't get it. I mean, I could see it's like, oh, well, like you were really into it and then like for like a month, but after that it's more like you'd rather do it like sort of on an as-call basis. I could see that. And maybe that's what most guys are like, but it's like, the guys who just feel like I just want to hit it and quit it. And it's like, well, okay, well, why would you want to quit it if it's still out there? I mean, the only way that would make sense if it's like, oh, well, you hit it once or whatever, and then after that, if you want, it's like a free sample, and if you want more, you gotta like be in a relationship with her. Okay, then yeah, absolutely, I could understand it. But otherwise, it's like, no, why wouldn't you want to keep sleeping with her? And I could understand if it's somebody like Casey, who it's just like an ego check thing. It's not really about the sex at all. But yeah, that's just how I've always felt about it.
If you have those characteristics that trigger a woman's sex aspect in her brain, it's going to be very arousing and she's going to want to see you. However, what she's scared of is she's going to be scared of getting hurt if the relationship were to end. This is where being a pre-built man comes in. A pre-built man means that you bring all of the provisioning or the provider aspects to the table too. So let me give you
I get it. Okay, and we're not even going to listen to the third thing because I don't care. And because I mean, obviously, we know this has nothing to do with sexuality. What he's saying there, like, yes, I see what he's saying, and there could be something to it as that's part of what women are looking for in a relationship. But these are supposed to be 3 dark fantasies, right? There's nothing dark about what you just said. You basically just said she wants and it's not a fantasy either. I mean, technically it is a fantasy, but it's not like the implication is dark sexual fantasy. And this is neither of those things. She wants a guy who has got that, sexual edge to him, but is also a good, respectful guy underneath. Okay. Again, I'm not totally sure about the percentages there or about exactly how dominant she wants him to be, both inside and outside the bedroom. I think there's a lot of variance there. But okay, that's fine. That's just the type of guy she likes for a relationship. It's not something that's has nothing to do with what turns her on in the raw sense. One way or the other. It just doesn't. So Casey is a fucking moron. That's all for now, and I'll see you in the next.